Casey. Cindy Perdue-Owen.
She was excused.
Absent. Ben Thielen.
Here.
Matt Steppen. Is he?
He's on his way. He's en route.
Okay. Bailyn Brando.
Present.
Dan Dennehy. Chad Silks. Cindy Shaw. And Mary McCormick.
I'll have the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer, please.
Implore you to look upon us this night as we make decisions which so greatly affect our Butte-Silver community. Direct our thoughts, words, and our deeds so that we may please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
Okay, public comment on
Push the right button. Got to push the right button in the words. Our Grand Road, 2601 Grand Avenue, Butte, Montana. When the Butte-Silver Council CEO can refuse to write a simple letter that the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners unanimously requested, and the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners can ignore implementing a stipulated Butte-Silver Charter mandate under powers and duties, then I hope we all can understand and be willing to know that the Butte-Silver government's functions need to be changed. I know that it is probably highly irregular for a presenter to make comments on their presentation at this time, but I would like to preface what we are going to present. In 2010, the Butte-Silver government commissioned a Greeley neighborhood plan study. The Greeley area plan was completed in 2011 and included in the Butte-Silver Master Plan in 2012. The plan's planning strategy H1, develop a neighborhood alliance and/or task force or group representing Greeley, organized with bylaws and officially recognized by the Butte-Silver government with a memorandum of understanding. Neighborhood groups meet regularly to discuss issues affecting Greeley, to coordinate ideas, and to monitor progress of the Greeley area plan. Neighborhood group shall meet shares meeting results with Council of Commissioners. The plan's priority action plan. Item 1. Initiate and enable neighborhood alliances and task forces. We, the Greeley Group, formed the alliance, drafted bylaws, held regular meetings, formed neighborhood task forces, and conducted improvement projects working with our local government. The Greeley Neighborhood Community Development Corporation is registered with the state of Montana and is recognized by the U.S. IRS as a 501c3 nonprofit. We, the Greeley Neighborhood Community Development Corporation, Inc., submitted various requests to the Butte-Silver local government to create a procedure which would be applicable to the greater Butte-Silver community, whereby the Greeley Neighborhood Community Development Corporation, Inc. could be officially recognized and enabled by the Butte-Silver County government. It is now 13 years later, and the officially recognized and enabled by the local Butte-Silver government portion of the action item number 1 is still not completed. In the meantime, the Greeley people have thrown up their hands and said, what's the use, other than the 2 or 3 of us that are here tonight. We are here tonight to ask you for your help. We ask that you please hear our plea, and for the greater good of the greater Butte-Silver community, include in the Butte City County Government Charter 1, a procedure for implementing Clause 3.03E to authorize community councils to advise the Council of Commissioners. And number 2, a procedure for officially recognizing and enabling neighborhood community coalitions and alliances. Thank you for your time. I'll be back.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderrob. Any other public comment on any item on the agenda? Okay, thank you. Moving on, approval of minutes of the meeting held April 28th, 2025. Commissioners, I did send edits to Ms. Cohn today. There was a couple of minor adjustments, mostly typos, and then there was a couple of persons that were accredited with the question, and we just were out of order from our usual seating chart, so I think that was the changes, but nothing of substance in terms of the content. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes, Madam Chair? Yes, yes.
Thank you, and thank you for that, and I know it was a very long set of minutes, 24 pages, and yeah, I appreciate, I think spell check maybe would help a little bit. And then there was a section of wages that were planted in Julian Green's section that I believe has now been corrected and put in with the IT department, so, okay, that's all. And I would make a motion with those changes to approve the minutes of the April, what was it? 28th? Yeah. Minutes.
Is there a second? Seconded by Thielen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Our next item of business is our conversation with Mr. Vanderrob.
No, next one. Okay. Our editor, Vanderrob, 2601 Grand Avenue, Butte, Montana. I believe in government of the people, by the people, and for the people, doing the most good for the greatest number of people. As a concerned citizen, I attended most all of the Butte-Silver Bowl Council Commissioner meetings from 2010 through 2019. Thus, I must ask, the Butte-Silver Bowl Charter prohibits the commissioners from controlling the Butte-Silver Bowl City-County employees. So why does the Butte-Silver Bowl Charter not prohibit the Butte-Silver Bowl CEO from controlling the commissioners and the public at council commissioner meetings? This simple amendment to section 3.05D of the Butte-Silver Bowl Charter would make the greatest change for the greatest good of the people and how the Butte-Silver Bowl local government functions. The proposed amendment to the Butte-Silver Bowl Charter, which I gave you a copy of, Section D, the presiding officer for all regular and special meetings of the Council of Commissioners shall be the, delete chief executive, and insert council chair, who shall decide all the tie votes of the Council of Commissioners, but shall have no other vote. In the case the, delete chief executive, insert council chair, cannot preside, etc. The survey results. There were a few people in Butte who do agree with me. As noted in my request for time on the agenda, the survey opinion poll was done by email through the Change.org website platform before city manager was a hot topic in the greater Butte-Silver Bowl community. You should also probably stipulate in the Butte-Silver Bowl Charter that the council chair shall be elected at large, shall have served at least one term as a commissioner, be a full-time 6-year position, shall perform the duties of the council chair as stipulated in the charter, shall be responsible for coordinating the functions of the council, that the council chair shall be responsible for coordinating council's interactions with the public, including calling for and chairing community councils and public listening sessions, coordinating with the respective district commissioner, formation and functioning of neighborhood community councils and alliances. I would suggest that the number of commissioners for coverage and cost reasons be reduced to 6 part-time commissioners, in addition to the council chair. That the commissioner's compensation be sufficient so as to justify that they be required to be available to their constituents in the commissioner office at least one designated half-day a week. That the Butte-Silver Bowl CEO be a 6-year position, and that the candidates be required to have city manager qualifications and experience. I thank you for this time on your agenda to respectfully submit this proposed amendment to the Butte-Silver Bowl City County Government Charter for your consideration and action. Are there any questions?
Questions from the commission? Mr. Thielen?
Madam Chair, Ed, thank you. This is something we've been kind of looking into. Why do you think, though, however, there should be part-time commissioners rather than full-time commissioners?
Excuse me?
Why do you think they should be part-time commissioners rather than full-time?
I think one full-time county chair as the go-to person can be the person who works with the county commissioners in their specific districts to meet with and cover and do what needs to be done. I feel that one full-time commissioner chair can also be the one who informs and educates and passes on the information and works with the city CEO or city manager. I don't really feel we have the need for 3 people or 4 people or 6 people full-time. I think the cost is prohibitive.
Mr. Dennehy?
Madam Chair, Ed, the chief executive office, you say, or one of your proposals, or those candidates should have some qualifications. Are you advocating for a elected chief executive as we have now with those qualifications? Or are you looking for a appointed position from the council?
I'm looking for checks and balances. I'm advocating for an elected chief executive with those qualifications and an elected council chair. Now, I don't want to call him a mayor, because if he gets to be a mayor, then he thinks he's the boss, and then we got problems. So we want the council chair to be the person of the people, the representative, the go-to person, while the chief executive officer, who is the boss of the employees, functions and focuses on being a chief executive. And I don't see the necessity for calling them, changing the title.
Mr. Thielen?
Madam Chair, so if they were part-time, what do you think their role would be, and how much do you think they should work?
Well, number one, I would take the current chief executive office and split it in 2 and make the front part of it the council commissioner office and the back part the CEO office. Now, as far as the time to work, I think if they have a designated period that is known in the community that a specific council member is going to be in the office every week at that time for a half day, and then work with the chair to hold neighborhood listening sessions. See, okay. One of our great problems is that we have public hearings after the fact, instead of having public listening sessions before the fact to draw together the will of the people in a consensus opinion. I think that can be done if the council members have a one designated half day in the office. Now, they're going to have to spend some more time voluntarily, but I think they can get the job done.
Go ahead, Mr. Thielen.
So Why are you opposed to, say, 4 full-time commissioners as opposed to having 6 part-time?
I don't think there's enough work for 4 full-time commissioners. I think it's important that the commissioners be educated on what the current items in the agenda are that they will have to be making a decision on. But I think that a council chair can draw them together in a pre-council commissioner meeting and discuss the issues part-time before and then go in with informed council members. As I'm quite sure you're familiar now, quite honestly, in the 9 years I was sitting here, a lot of the commissioners would come in 15 minutes to 30 minutes early and read down through the agenda. They didn't really have time to study the issues completely. I believe that if we have one well-informed council chair that can communicate with his fellow commissioners, that they can come to a consensus prior to council meetings, or at least express their opinions, so when they get to the council meeting, they can do the due diligence to make an educated vote.
Mr. Sepp.
Madam Chair, thank you. Ed, thank you for the presentation. My question is, I would say a follow-up to Commissioner Dennehy's question with respect to an elected chief executive with specific qualifications. I'm curious who, in your opinion, fleshes out those qualifications prior to that chief executive getting onto the ballot. And if we have similar requirements for elected positions. Thank you.
Those requirements, of course, need to be itemized in the charter. And the clerk of the county clerk, who is the election officer, is the person, I would say, going through the normal process of determining whether a candidate can qualify to be on the ballot.
Ms. Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it's nice to see you again, and you still have the passion that you've always had since I've been on council, so nothing's changed much there, that's for sure. Say, again on Dan and Matt's question, so other than the county attorney, elected officials are not required to be anything but 21 years old, a resident of the county for a year, and a registered voter, basically. That's about it. So I don't know if that's a state mandated thing or not, but that's I'm really unclear about how we could require recommendations for an elected official. And my second question is that we were talking about.
Can I handle one at a time? I can't remember that much.
Yeah, so elected officials, again, aren't required to have any requirement. I remember when I ran for office, I came to the courthouse and asked what the job description was for a commissioner, and they laughed at me. They said, "Are you 21?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then my other question was, would you want this chair of council, the CEO of the council, to be at large or have a district? Because, right now we're a district-based kind of a commission as far as council goes. But that was my other question.
Let's do the second one first. I think in the proposal is the CEO at large, the council chair at large. So with equal terms, they should be equal. Our legislators and executive branch need to be equal. And we've got a justice system to settle any differences if they can't come to a conclusion. Now, what was your first question again, please?
Well, that had to do with whether you can require specific
I would,
background for an elected official.
I would put into the add to the charter the specification that he has so many years experience as city manager, and that he has so much training or education as city manager, and then leave it up to the public to decide between the candidates. And I really feel that the salary has to be sufficient to be, what's the word, to draw people who would be interested, to draw qualified people. And I think if it is, the qualified people should be willing to explain their qualifications to the public. I also agree that we need to include a termination or a recall or whatever you might call it, clause for both of them in the charter, a procedure for should there be problems.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Thielen.
Just kind of a follow-up, and I just want to have you think about this for a minute. With your recommendation of 6, that's given the council members twice as many constituents. And so if we were thinking 4 or 5, they're still getting more yet, because we're going to have the districts redrawn. So you think they can do that part-time? I don't.
Okay. I suggest starting with 6 because the simplest would be just to combine 2 existing commissioner districts. If the compensation is sufficient for them to justify using additional time, I think they can get the job done. I agree that you can't have what we have now. And because it's really totally voluntary. And I gotta give credit to people that do the job, because they do the job. I gotta give credit to our city employees. They've made the effort to work with us. We just couldn't get the, CEO, and we'll present that here in a minute, to agree on what is being done in Missoula and other places in the nation to make a balanced government. I hope this isn't taking my 20 minutes here.
We're okay.
I thank you kindly for the questions. I mean, yes, this is what we need to do. We need to think about it.
Mr. Banderob, I want to make sure I'm understanding your vision in how things are structured and function. So you would have your community councils, neighborhood councils, who are doing work in their neighborhoods, looking at issues, coming together. They have their representative from the council who would come and visit with them and bring those issues forward to the council and commission meeting. Is that correct? I'm understanding that.
Okay. We'll bring that up in the next presentation. But we were informed by the county attorney when we'd gone through the Rules Committee and the Judiciary Committee that community councils and neighborhood community councils are two different things, and that the charter presently calls for community councils. Now, there's a couple ways you can do community councils, and we can get into that after the next presentation. There's 2 or 3 ways, and I would prefer holding those questions till later. Does that answer you?
Yes, thank you. And you have a second part to this presentation, is that correct?
Yes.
So commissioners, is it okay if we bring up our second presenter?
Thank you. Do I have to look for it? You got to point at, here we are. Okay, the first presentation was R. Everett Bandrop. The second presentation is for and on behalf of the Greeley Neighborhood Community Development Corporation, Inc. Now, unfortunately, the old man has got to sit down. So I have asked Allison to do the presentation. I'm R. Edward Bandrop, 2601 Grand Avenue, Butte, Montana.
And I'm Allison Anderson, and I live at 421 West Iron in Butte, Montana.
I have drafted this presentation as if I were going to give it, so some of it won't make too much sense with Allison giving it, but I'll let her have it. Thank you. Forward. Put that in your hand.
Okay, so first, a little history. Oh, sorry. Drafted by Ed, read by me. A Republic If You Can Keep It, Benjamin Franklin, September 18th, 1787. Sorry. There we go. Historically, in a republic, a representative democracy, the charter of the local government is to be based on the principle of a 3-branch government. First, the legislative branch, charged with ascertaining the will of the people, determining the policy, and making the codes and laws. Second, the executive branch, charged with implementing, administering, and enforcing the codes and laws. And third, the judicial branch, charged with interpreting and applying the codes and laws. A system of checks and balances. Okay, sorry, bear with me here. Click. So now, wait, where am I at here, Ed? Oh, so sorry. A little history of Ed's observations as to how the current Butte-Silver Bow Charter has been interpreted. Ed, as he said, attended the Butte-Silver Bow Council of Commissioner meetings regularly for over 9 years. During CEO Babb's administration, the council members regularly submitted requests to be referred to the Butte-Silver Bow Department and were returned with a staff recommendation. During CEO Vincent, he seemed to interpret Section 3.04, Restrictions on the Council of Commissioners, to mean that he had the absolute authority to accept or reject any request by the council, and they shall not deal with any local government employees. And then during CEO Palmer, he seemed to mostly honor the council's requests, probably because he was a councilman. During CEO Gallagher, he seems to have returned to the interpretation that he has the authority to accept or reject any request by the council. To the point that when the Greeley Neighborhood Community Development Corporation Incorporated submitted a request to the council to write a letter to AmeriCorps that was unanimously approved by the council, he refused to write the letter. So now you have a major decision to make. Is the Butte-Silver Bow government to continue to be a top-down government where the executive branch determines policy and then presents it to the legislative branch, or is the Butte-Silver Bow government to be a bottom-up government? so that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Abraham Lincoln, November 19th, 1863. If you agree that the Butte-Silver Bow government should be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, then there must be built into the Butte-Silver Bow Charter a mechanism by which to determine the will of the people. We, the Greeley Neighborhood Community Development Corporation Incorporated, believe that the purpose of the Butte-Silver Bow Charter, Clause 3.03E, Section 3.03, powers and duties of the Council of Commissioners to authorize community councils to advise the Council of Commissioners is to provide the council with a mechanism by which to determine the will of the people. This clause was included in the Butte-Silver Bow City-County Charter in 1977, but has never been implemented. In 2010 to 2011, the Greeley Area Plan was formulated and included in the Butte-Silver Bow Master Plan. And this was part 3 of that. Plan for the Future, Section H. Citizen involvement and access to government, Goal H. Encourage citizen involvement in the implementation of the Greeley Area Plan and access to information and assistance from the Butte-Silver Bow government. Planning strategies, Section H-1. Develop a neighborhood alliance and/or task force or group representing Greeley, organized with bylaws, and officially recognized by the Butte-Silver Bow government with a memorandum of understanding. Neighborhood group meets regularly to discuss issues affecting Greeley, to coordinate ideas, and to monitor progress on the Greeley Area Plan. Neighborhood group shares meeting results with the Council of Commissioners. Priority action plan. The first year includes work on 9 action items. Item number 1, initiate and enable neighborhood alliances and/or task forces. We developed a neighborhood alliance task force group to represent Greeley. We organized with bylaws, held regular meetings to discuss issues affecting the Greeley neighborhood area, coordinated neighborhood improvement task forces projects, and worked with the Butte-Silver Bow government to start a stormwater infrastructure improvement project. The Greeley Neighborhood Community Development Corporation Incorporated is officially recognized by the state of Montana and the United States Department of the Internal Revenue Service as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. But to date, we have not been recognized by the Butte-Silver Bow government with a memorandum of understanding. Therefore, in accordance with Clause 3.03E of the Butte-Silver Bow Government City-County Charter, we submitted a communication to the Butte-Silver Bow Council in 2014. We request that this Butte-Silver Bow Council of Commissioners, in conjunction with the Butte-Silver Bow Community Development Department, establish a procedure and guidelines for authorizing, enabling, and participating in local government and neighborhood community councils by commissioner district, and a Greater Butte-Silver Bow Community Council Alliance. Our request was referred to the Rules Committee, where a procedure was drafted, approved by the council on a 9-to-1 vote with 2 absent, and forwarded to the Judiciary Committee, and then the Judiciary Committee then drafted a 3-page, all-volunteer, no cost to the taxpayers, Butte-Silver Bow proposed Council Bill 14-8, ordinance number 14-8. And then I, Ed, committed a great big faux pas. I told a confidant of the then Butte-Silver Bow CEO that this would restore the checks and balances to the Butte-Silver Bow form of government. At the next council meeting, the Community Development Director presented a 13-page model city type $100,000 cost a year to the taxpayers Red Line modified Council Bill 14-8, ordinance number 14-8, which I believe was denied by the council on about a vote of 7 to 5. During the discussion on the Red Line amendment, the Butte-Silver Bow City County Attorney clarified that the current Butte-Silver Bow Charter, Cause 3.03E, calls for community councils, not neighborhood community councils. After which, in 2015 and After which, in 2015 and 2016, we collected signatures on a petition and submitted communications to the Butte-Silver Bow Council of Commissioners with a petition. Subject request for this Council of Commissioners to establish rules and procedures by which to call for, authorize, and recognize community councils to advise this Council of Commissioners. The petition. A total of 500 Butte-Silver Bow voting age residents were talked to. A total of 447 Butte-Silver Bow voting age residents signed the petition. 89% of Butte-Silver Bow residents talked to signed the petition. The 500 sample size and 89% positive reaction is well above the 379 needed in a random sample survey of a population of 30,000 for a 95% confidence probability for the total population, allowing for a 5% plus or minus error factor. The request and petition were noted and filed by the council. Therefore, we hereby request that this Silver Bow Form of Government Study Commission include in the Butte-Silver Bow City County Charter a provision to establish a procedure by which to call for, authorize, and recognize community councils to advise the Council of Commissioners. We understand that this would be another level of government. It would be the level of government whereby the legislative branch of our Butte-Silver Bow local government would be able to hold listening sessions to ascertain the will of the people prior to determining policy. For and on behalf of the Greeley Neighborhood Community Development Corporation Incorporated, this request is hereby submitted for your consideration and action to decide whether or not the Butte-Silver Bow City County government is to be a representative democracy of the people, by the people, and for the people. If you'd like any copies of the communications, the petition, the proposed ordinance bill, and or rules and procedures options considered, please let us know. And that's Ed's information there with his email and phone number. And I'll just go ahead and close with this part. Oh, sorry. You all do realize, don't you, that this Butte-Silver Bow Local Government Study Commission is a community council called and convened to determine the will of the people and to advise. Any questions for Ed?
Mr. Dennehy.
Thank you for stepping in.
Yeah.
One of the questions, Ed, is how active was the Greeley Community Council when you were involved or still involved? Do you still have regular meetings and provide information back to the council, or has that fallen off?
From 2013, 2012, 2012, we got together a group of officers and directors, drafted the bylaws. In 2013 to probably 2015, 16, we held regular meetings on fifth Wednesdays. We had up to 50 people attending. We had commissioners attending. We had CEOs attending. We had DEQ executives attending. EPA executives attending. MR, Montana Resources, environmental executives giving presentations. The health department giving presentations and addressing the wood stove issue. Then we didn't get recognized by the city-county government. And as I said before, what's the use? So after COVID, unfortunately, I had some health issues. As I told the gal, I just had my pacemaker put in here at the beginning of the year. I'm back somewhat. So yes, it has fallen off. What you see, plus Larry, is what there is left. And no, we're not holding regular meetings anymore, partly because we lost privileges at the fire hall and had to come up with $100 a meeting to pay for some place, and partly because I've gone robbed. It takes an initiator, an instigator, and we didn't find another one, and like they said, we're not recognized officially. It's not worth the effort.
Any other questions? Mr. Dennehy?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to taking up your time, but as we researched, last week we had, or 2 weeks ago, we had a member from the MSU Local Government Council, Local Government Center, give us several charters as a study guide on what other communities do in Montana. And reviewing that, knowing that you were going to be here tonight, knowing that I had to be on my game because you're going to be on your game. Charter of Helena has city, or have neighborhood councils in their charter, specifically prescribed in their charter. City of Great Falls have neighborhood councils, specifically inscribed in their council, or in their charter. I believe
Missoula should be
Missoula has neighborhood councils specifically inscribed in their charter. So what you have presented to us and what you have presented to us for several years has been implemented in other cities in Montana. And I think it would be a great service as commissioners to review those charters that we received from MSU and to look at the makeup, formulation of the makeup, neighborhood councils versus that turn into community councils, and how that would work. So this is not plowing new ground here, but I think it would really benefit all of us to review that and put it on our to-do list for deliberations to see whether or not that's something we want to change the charter in. So there is a example on several accounts in several local governments that our sides are larger that have done that. And so if this is the government of the people, by the people, there is ample opportunity for people to be involved. So we have been meeting now since January, and this is probably one of the most attended commission meeting that we've had. So there's 4 of you there. So 5 of you, I'm sorry, Allison, as a presenter. So I think in order to get people involved in what we do, neighborhood councils doesn't seem like a bad idea, if we can keep them going. If there is a instigator involved in those or those neighborhood councils. If there is a issue that can be presented to the council and the chief executive regarding people's involvement and ideas and passion for an issue. So there is ample opportunity and examples of neighborhood councils, and I would ask my fellow colleagues to take a look at that and to think as we make these decisions whether or not that's something we would like to do. And I appreciate your time.
Ms. Anderson, yeah, turn on the microphone, please.
I do educate mail. These other councils function well, and they help their local government to function well. And I believe in adding this too. And that would, it bridges the two together to reduce the amount of commissioners, to have someone who is educated and knowledgeable as a city manager to bring us forward. So I'm not just a presenter. I agree in this idea, and I would love to implement this in my neighborhood as well. And I see a need for it. So just to be clear, thank you.
Can I add just
Mr. Vanderup?
we have had many hot topic groups develop in Butte-Silver Bowl. They fill the council chambers, and then they go away. The Centerville group functioned for several years. They were not recognized, and they were not coordinated with the government, but they did a good job. We had the group from Platinum Street and a couple other groups that brought in hot topic issues. She just had the gal with her access, etc. So there are people interested. Why aren't there people here? I was going to save this till the end, because that's where it's on your agenda. Public comment on any item that is not on the agenda is at the end of the meeting. It should be right after public comment on any item that's on the agenda. Because people's time is important. They don't have time to sit here not knowing when you're going to end so they can make a comment. I want to clarify one more time that there is a difference between the community council that is in the charter presently to advise the council commissioners. That group could be one person from each commissioner district, one person from each of the key personal, familial organizations, business, etc., as a focus group to draw final decisions to present to the council of commissioners. And then the other part is the neighborhood community alliances and coalitions. And and we went through this when we were doing the study, doing the plan. People don't like the word of council because they don't like the authority, but they're willing to work with their coalition, their neighborhood coalition, or task force, etc. So you need to consider two things. One, the community council to advise the council, a commission such as this, and the neighborhood coalitions working to improve the individual neighborhoods.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderrod. Ms. Casey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a statement and then a question for Ed, but I can attest that Ed has been working on these for a long time. And those neighborhood plans became part of the master plan, and which has now been renamed the comprehensive plan. Those plans are done as a land use plan for the future of what Butte-Silver Bow wants to look at. And both the Greeley Neighborhood Plan and the Central Butte Plan were adopted for the future. So I agree with Dan. I think we really do need to look at that and consider it for the charter. And then my question for you, Ed or Allison, is did I see in the presentation your recommendation was to have a neighborhood plan for each district? Or were you thinking smaller neighborhood commissions?
I think that if we start from each district, and if there's more interest in other places, that it breaks off and becomes specific for specific neighborhoods. I think you've only got the 2 or 3 that are now defined. Greeley is only a part of a district. But as you define and make more neighborhood plans, then yes, I think it should be by neighborhood. But here again, it is important that the commissioner gets involved, and the commissioner is the go-to person to work it up the chain and up the flagpole and follow up. You know, we were squeaking, so we got some work done. We got some cleanup done. We got some stormwater brought up to code. Didn't get the curbs put in, so it doesn't work. But we have to have a comprehensive government private partnership to improve our neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Ms. Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Boy, Ed, this is going back in history. I can remember the rules of order that we were looking at in our judiciary, and then we had a legal opinion by Eileen Joyce in writing about how this wasn't going to happen the way you were hoping to have it happen. I'm tired of looking at the past because that's all water under the bridge. Just saying. I'd like to see it happen in our lifetime, that we at least have something. And I do remember one of the problems was we did not get commissioners' buy-in because they didn't want to add, part-time people. Not me, I was full-time, at least by my own desires. But they didn't want to take on any more projects like that. But it does say that we authorize it, and that was the wording that Eileen had in her legal opinion. Was you can, the council we're saying, here's our blessing, authorize these, but there was, something had to happen, something had to occur, and there had to be a leader in each district to make it work, and it just didn't happen. So I think, I looked at a lot of, same with Dan, I looked at all the other cities and what they've done, not only that, but just a form of government, but also whether they had neighborhood councils, community councils, and they had some that were actually elected. They elected people to be on their council. It sounds daunting, but I just think we need to do it. It's been 20 years since our last study commission, so Butte's changed a lot, and we really, I think we have a nice straight path to do something. So thank you very much for coming here tonight.
I agree. I thank you for coming and presenting tonight, and I agree with my fellow commissioners in terms of form and function, which is the point of our charter review, is to look at that form and function and how well it is working and, if you will, infiltrating to citizenry. And one of the things that we've heard time and time again is that there is an appearance of a lack of transparency, and I think that hosting meetings that are neighborhood-based with your commissioner present could increase that transparency and communication for sure. Another issue that we're having is meeting our constituency where they are. We no longer have newspapers very well to get information and news out. This commission commission itself has been experiencing that very directly. So having a meeting time, place, and structure that would allow for that communication, I think would greatly and vastly improve our government. So we will take this under serious consideration and take our time walking through how to set that up, and we may call you back for a future opinion if that is okay with you.
Thank you for hearing us.
Commissioners, if there's no more questions, can we move forward? All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you all, and we will move on to our correspondence, our study commission update.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. No new correspondence in our box. I just want to make you all aware, we have a new media type system in here. New lights, you might have noticed, new lights as well. So just a little patience as we get through. Jason from IT is here tonight helping us through, but in the future, it might be me running back and forth, pressing buttons, but it is going to be a lot easier. There's only like one thing to do instead of three. So just so you know, we have all new technology in here. Last week you all had said, hey, can we have some office supplies? And I was going to do that Friday, but I was typing up minutes until 5 o'clock on Friday. And then today I had some other commitments with my previous jobs. So hopefully next week with a lighter meeting today, I'll have more time to pick up. I know. I figured you'd be forgiving. We did get an email from someone in the community. She's a member of the Clerks Union, if I remember correctly, and she found some mistakes in some of our minutes. So I'm going to go back and look at those and take care of that. And that might be a simple thing like one posted in the wrong place or something. So I'm going to look at that. And then I passed out to most of you new volunteer log sheets. So just keep track meeting by meeting. Just bring them to each meeting in your blue folder that I gave you back in January, and just keep track of your meetings. I'm not looking at anybody in particular. You're not the only one. Just because Cinda also asks for the actual sheets, not just the numbers. So I just put numbers in there because I know how long the meetings last as well. So I fill in those, but she does come back and ask for the actual sheets. So please fill them out and get them back to me. Thank you.
Excellent. Unfinished business, our public outreach discussion. Party line is Mary McCormick and Ben Thielen for Wednesday the 21st. I'm looking forward to that. And then Cindy Purdue-Dolan, Lori Casey, and Chad Soak are scheduled for June 18th. Those will continue to run in that third Wednesday of the month going forward. Op-ed pieces, Mr. Steppen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe we're still waiting on the county attorney's review so that we can send the final version to the Montana Standard and other parties to be published. I don't believe we've got the answer to the questions that were lingering, unless I missed something.
I believe you're correct. Anything to add to that particular item? Moving on to marketing and advertising update, Ms. Casey and Ms. Purdue-Dolan and I met via Zoom with two contractors, one from BLDC and then Shanna Adams from Adams Consulting last week, and went through their questions, and they both had promised that they would have a proposal to us by the 18th. Our other two had decided to decline the offer at this time just based on their workloads and the necessary skills regarding survey and survey administration and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to those two presentations coming. I think that will set us up for greater success with regards to public outreach. Any questions regarding that? Okay, so moving on to our new business. Sorry, Ms. Cohn? 18th. Moving on to our new business, on charter review, we wanted to look at Articles 5 and 6, with the caveat that we understand we need legal opinion from Mr. Enruth as well. We were hoping to have our kind of list of questions for him ready to go. Ms. Shaw, did you want to lead us off with that?
With questions? No, I have no questions. Oh, excuse me, Madam Chair. In case anybody is interested, on page, let's see, page 10. It's section 5.05, law enforcement. Just a little FYI, I talked to Ed Lester today, and I was just curious about their Law Enforcement Commission is actually it's section 5.05C, and they do have a 5-member commission. And if anybody had any questions, I was just going to give a brief discussion on that, because I honestly never heard of it after all the years I was on council, but they do have it. And they do hiring, they do training, and possibly do some issues that might come up. But yeah, just they do have it, and it is always in place, mainly for hiring and training, and also for promotions. So just so you know, that if anybody had any question about what that is, that's what it is. It is an active commission. That's all. Thank you.
Excellent. If we want to back up, let's go ahead and back up to Article 5, the executive branch. I know that we had some recommendations from our treasurer and our auditor that those positions also have a level of expertise required. And then we heard tonight some recommendations for expertise requirements with our chief executive. And I guess I don't know what we're allowed in charter, what our purview is. This would be a question for Mr. Enruth, I think. In the qualification section under 5.02, subpart A, number 2, it says, in addition to the foregoing qualifications, which to me seems the qualified elector section above, a candidate shall have all education, training, and experience required by state law, local ordinances in this charter for the respective respective office. So, again, we need our legal opinion, but I wonder if this is where we might be able to draft possible qualifications. I defer to those who might have more experience with that question. Good question for Mr. Enruth. Okay. Any other, and then public administrator? Who is our public administrator? I did not see that on our flow chart or our supervision chart. Ms. Shaw?
The public administrator works with people that die intestate, that don't have any heirs, and we do have, it's not required, but luckily we have a lawyer, and actually an attorney who's doing that. I can't think of his name offhand, and we had a new one this year. In the past, it's just, they don't even get paid. They get a stipend on any monies that are collected or that have been found, you know, where they actually look for heirs, and there's a lot of cases out there that just are hanging without any, they're in a fund, and hopefully the next person on board can be a better investigator or whatever it takes, you know, to do that. But that's what the public administrator does, and they are not paid a salary, but they do get a portion of a percentage of proceeds.
Excellent, thank you. I appreciate that insight. Yes. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Any other suggestions or questions we wanted to pull out, Ms. Shaw?
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Where it says in sub D, it says superintendent of schools, I think we might think about just a, you know, an afterthought, but it should say county superintendent of schools. It's just a little bit, and that's just a semantic or housekeeping item that we could change, because it does get confused with number 1. So, thank you.
I know that there were discussions last study commission about eliminating any of these offices that are elected, and I would entertain that conversation. I don't know if this commission has those same concerns or wanted to go back through that, but I would certainly entertain that. And we haven't heard from our assessor, and we haven't heard from the coroner yet. So just know that in all fairness, we haven't heard from all of the elected officials, but would open that conversation.
Madam Chair, I think this can be maybe moved down a little bit for further discussion, but I know that there's only a certain amount of room to put our issues on the ballot for the voters to vote on specifically. This could be one tonight, and the other is what we talked about over the year, or over the time we've been in there. So I'd like to review that again, maybe with Matt, and to see where that is, how many recommendations we're going to provide for the voters to make a decision on, and some of the other bucket, as Ms. Dolan says, that are recommendations back to council and the chief executive. So, you know, I don't know what that number is, but I think it's getting to a point where those ballot issues are getting filled up, and so I'd like to maybe see if that's something we want to do, whether or not we're going to recommend that to the council or to the chief executive, probably the council commissioners at this point.
Mr. Thielen?
Madam Chair, thank you. With the coroner, as a rule, usually the sheriff in most counties is the coroner, who has deputy coroners that work for him. So they're usually staff members. That way there's somebody's always on duty, one of the lieutenants, captains, or somebody. So when it comes time to do that, maybe we could look at that and move it over instead of a standalone office, move it into the sheriff's office.
Thank you, Mr. Thielen. Other discussion, Ms. Shaw?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I talked to Ed today, we kind of threw that one out, and it'll be nice, and I agree that we have not talked to all the elected officials. I wouldn't even want to begin to talk about their positions and whether they're good or indifferent, good, great, or indifferent, until we do that. Same with the sheriff, and I'm sure he can give us some insight into how that might work for Butte-Silver, putting the coroner in with the sheriff. Good, there's probably good points and bad, but I really want to hold off on even talking about these folks until they have a chance to speak to us first. Thank you.
Ms. McCormick?
Thank you, Chair. I also think we need to hear from the public on these issues as well before we start making any decisions.
For the record, I'm not calling for decisions, I'm just looking for discussion, so making sure that we're kind of thinking through where our priorities are. I think Mr. Dennehy outlined it really well in terms of, if we only get 4 ballot initiatives, then what are our top 4 priorities for this process? If we get the world of initiatives, then maybe we can consider everything, but I just wanted to open that conversation. Thank you, Ms. McCormick.
One last comment. I sound like somebody else, sorry. Go ahead.
I think Ms. McCormick was first.
I was just going to say, if that's what we're doing, then after we have listened to the auditor, and I thought she really justified her position as far as the workload and her contribution to the county, and that if she wasn't doing that job, it would have to be somebody else in the budget department doing those tasks that she's performing. So that's just what I have to say. That's what we're looking at. We have talked about, have heard from her.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So 20 years ago, we had a lot of little housekeeping things, like, correcting a misspelling or adding county to supervisor, little things like that. We kind of lumped it into what we called housekeeping or incidentals, and it didn't really require each individual thing being separate. And we did have 5 ballot issues 20 years ago, so I know we can at least do 5. And we combined a couple together in one. So I'm sure there's ways to get things done. We have quite a few things that looks like we might want to consider offering amendments to the public. I always want to say, we're not making any changes, we're just offering them out there, so. Okay, I can't wait to see what Matt has to say. That Matt.
Mr. Steppen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we want to be careful about conversations about potential changes on topics that we haven't reviewed with individuals or public just yet. I think as we have our conversations, we start to see common themes that we can start noting to put into a certain bucket as far as prioritization. But I think we want to be really careful about, you know, in the charter in particular. I guess my takeaway last week was that we want to have Matt clear up any potential questions that we have, but be careful about looking forward to possible recommendations with respect to areas that we haven't talked with the individuals or the public yet. I also think, to Commissioner Dennehy's point on, if we're limited, I don't think now's the time to determine which topics take priority, but rather build our list. And as we get towards the end, spend some good time thoughtfully going through that priority list before we move anything up or down just yet.
Mr. Steppen, excellent. I appreciate that. I guess you'd say that flow chart, if you will. That's exactly what I'm thinking as well. So I appreciate that comment, and for sure we need to hear from public. We're just reviewing what's here, right? Mr. Silk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is going back to the qualifications. Now that you read that, in addition to the foregoing qualifications, a candidate shall have all the education, training, experience required by state law, local ordinance, and charter. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we would want? Instead of trying to, and maybe I'm just misunderstanding. It seems like it's pretty well written when it comes to it. Were we thinking about maybe changing that or adding to these specific executive officers within the charter of their requirements in the charter? Is that what we were looking for?
What I was thinking about was the recommendations that were coming from our county treasurer and our auditor specifically, in that they were concerned with regards to a new person being elected coming in without any accounting skills or background or any understanding of MCA or the potential of that. And so they had said maybe you could clean up the qualifications or add qualifications that are required for that position. And then tonight we were hearing about public looking for language that makes it clear about what qualifications you would have to be a chief executive. I don't know if that's allowed, if we can do that, or we should do that. We don't, going back to that question with regards to how broad or specific we need to be. This language is specific enough, perhaps, but maybe there are pieces that we'd want to clarify. And again, this is a question for Mr. Enrist, I think, too. Ms. Shaw?
And on that same note, so when it says a candidate shall have all the education, training, experience required with state law, et cetera, what they're saying is it's not a prerequisite to getting elected. But once you are elected, I know that happens with the city judges or anybody that doesn't really have experience as a judge or as a coroner, let's say, but they immediately begin training, I can tell you that, and then every year they have to do, what do you do when you have to get more credits to make sure you're up to date on all state laws and everything? But to be elected, you seriously only need item 1 to start, except for the county attorney. And then, but after that, if you are in a certain kind of a position that requires state law required education, you have to do that. And continuing education, I was trying to think of it, every year they have to go through continuing education. If they don't do that, they can actually lose their official status. So I don't think there's any technically requirements prerequisite to being elected. I could be wrong.
Okay, other sections. We heard from Ms. Shaw on the law enforcement department regarding their council and their commission. Any other questions in section 5.03, 04, or 05, or comments? All right, Article 6, moving on to the judiciary. Any questions or comments on section 6? Mr. Thielen?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I did, back to going to the new business. I just want to clarify something from last week with my conversation with Mr. Aguirre. The camera sticks that they put in place, anything that is intersecting with Park Street or Montana Street is illegal because they are state highways. You cannot have them to take pictures of a vehicle to give a ticket in this state. That's all.
Okay. I don't know what we do with that information, to be honest. Are you going to talk to our county attorney? Okay, thank you. Yeah, just FYI. All right, so if there's no more questions, and of course, we agreed to kind of listing our questions, sending them to Mr. Enruth, and then he could come back to us with all of those. Ms. Cohn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Looking at the section 5.03, the appointment of deputies, where it says each elected officer entitled by, or I might be answering my own question. I guess because our auditor said that no, she does not have a deputy. And I'm wondering, is she entitled to have a deputy? That's an interesting question. I might look up in the ordinances and see that.
Ms. Casey?
Madam Chair, that's what I was just going to suggest. You have to go to the ordinance. So I don't believe by ordinance she can have one. So there's a process to update the ordinance for her to go through that, and then the Council of Commissioners would decide that. There's also by ordinance listed all of the auditor duties that are done in this county. So back to those qualifications, I hate to get, as a charter, to get too specific in the qualifications, trying to do qualifications for today versus 10 years from now. Whether it's legal or not, or we can do it, is one question, but also what qualifications to put in without leaving them broad and general, I think would be difficult also. That's just my comment on it.
No, that's an excellent point, and I think, when in the language too, it says or by ordinance, so that might be the place that it could be encoded. Ms. McCormick.
Well, it seems to me that one of the reasons you would go to a city manager is that you would have someone doing those duties, those chief executive duties that was hired according to some qualifications. You can have the qualifications and then you can hire somebody. It's hard to have qualifications and elect them. Does that make sense? So that's, I think, what I hear from people is one of the reasons why they would like to have a city manager is that you could have somebody at the head of the executive, or doing the executive duties that had specific qualifications.
All right. Any other questions or things we're considering in these two sections? Okay, if we're ready to move on, yeah? All right, we'll go to, we don't have a public hearing and we don't have other scheduled matters, so public comment on anything not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the study commission. Looks like our public has all vacated the building. Our announcements, our meetings will be held every Monday at 5, except for federal holidays, and then we will have some, to see the webpage for schedule changes. Looks like we are having our judges come in at the end of June, and then our fire department chief, Zach Osborne, has been moved to June 9th. So any other business, Ms. Shaw?
Do we have a homework assignment for the charter?
Of course. I think our homework is, A, to get Matt a list of questions if we have them, so he can be responsive to those next week. And then do we want to move to Articles 6 and 7? I mean 7 and 7? How about we stay with Articles 7 and 8 for next week?
And then also, Kim, I'd love to get a copy of Ed's presentation, the one he put up there. Would you mind sending it? Could you actually print it for me? Well, I would like to have it printed so I can put it in my book, and I've got a section for those things. Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order? All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. And a second? I know, it's still light out, we don't know what to do. So it's motion by Thielen and a second by Shaw. All those in favor? Any opposed? Don't say it, Mr. Denny.